welcome. Today, I just got the chance to see Nosferatu at my local movie theater. I got the chance to see Nosferatu. I probably should have done this video at night, because if you didn't know, I'm surrounded by windows, and it's only like 1 p.m., so it's bright and early, daytime. There's baby powder all over my shirt. We're keeping it going though, because I want to talk about Nosferatu. So without further ado, let's talk about Nosferatu. I'm going to keep it spoiler free for the meantime, until we get later into the video when I'm going to talk about spoilers. But anyways, let's get into it. So last night, I got the chance to see Nosferatu, and if you didn't know, I've been looking forward to this movie. I know this is a movie that is very different from the movies that I talk about. I don't really typically talk about horror movies, but I'm a big fan of Robert Eggers. I really like The Lighthouse. This movie felt fantastic, if you didn't know. Alright, I'll stop with the vampire puns. But, you know, it had me rolling in my coffin, if that's the case. But I actually really liked it. I actually saw the first Nosferatu movie from, like, the 1920s or 30s, I believe, which clearly that's a big piece of cinema history, where that inspired a bunch of horror movies. That was the first known vampire movie, and one of the first horror movies to ever exist. It's crazy that there's been like such a long wait for like kind of like a remake to that. I know they remade one in like the 90s, I believe, but then they did this, and I think this one's really cool, especially with the director Robert Eggers, which of course he did The Lighthouse, The Northman, the Witch, the Witch. I don't know. I think it's 2 V's, so it's the Witch. Whatever. But either way, all those movies are great. I never got the chance to see The Northman, but I got the chance to see this, and man, this movie was wild. It was absolutely insane. I didn't go in this, if that's what you're wondering. I went in just classic sweatpants and sweatshirt. I was just like, it was at like maybe 8 o'clock at night. I went to go see that movie, and the theater was packed, which I'm very surprised. Mostly theaters aren't packed anymore, especially for like movies like this, a rated R horror movie that's very grungy, very like emo, gothic, very gothic, and the theater was packed with different varieties of people. There were like old couples in here. There was people my age. There were like teenagers, just adults. Then you got, of course, a bunch of like gothic people who like dark, sinister movies. And I'm just a guy who likes to go see every movie that there is. I'm at 60 movies this year, which we're gonna get to my yearly recap eventually, before the new year. And I was just like, wow, there's a good variety of people in here that I'm just surprised that there's this many people going to see this movie, and rightfully so. So this movie, of course, follows just like the same format as the first movie, except there's talking, there's dialogue, and the main thing that I really love about this movie is the visual effects. Man, the visuals are perfection in this. You got Robert Eggers is so good when it comes to his like visual style, like the Lighthouse. I love The Lighthouse visually, and I think that's why I really like The Lighthouse. This movie does it greatly. There's some cinematography scenes in this like that are just visually perfect, that blew me away, that I'm very surprised on how he got like the chance to do that, where it's like the dark and sinister like shadows, like vampires hiding in the shadows. And I think that's what's beautiful about this movie, is the way just the cinematography works. And I think it could honestly get nominated for an Oscar for cinematography and visual effects and makeup and hairstyling. Speaking of, Count Orlok in this movie looks breathtaking. Now, he does have a mustache this time around. I'm not going to show you guys any pictures or anything, but he looks weird. He has a mustache for some reason. I can respect that. It makes sense, I guess. Count Orlok, man. Bill Skarsgård. I couldn't even tell that was Bill Skarsgård. That looks nothing like him. And, like, at least with when he played Pennywise, you could be like, okay, that's Bill Skarsgård. You can't tell. I couldn't tell that was Bill Skarsgård. His voice, I'm sure you guys saw TikToks and everything, or clips of his voice, but his voice drops down a whole octave. You gotta take a vocal coach if you didn't know. Man, it's terrifying. Like, just his presence on screen, and you don't even get to see him that much until like later on in like the final act of the movie. His like demeanor when he's just in the shadows is terrifying. Like, I was honestly like, I was scared. Like, there was like a few scenes that like actually made me jump out of my seat. And like the thing is, there's a few jump scares in this movie, but mainly what I was more scared of is like the scenes where like there is this one scene that I'm not going to talk about in depth right now, but It was with Aaron Taylor Johnson's character, who he did great, by the way. All the acting performances in this movie were amazing. But Aaron Taylor Johnson, his whole family gets kind of an interaction with Count Orlok, and there was one scene with his family, and I jumped out of my seat. I was not expecting what they did, and I was like, oh my gosh, that was crazy. Wasn't expecting that. I don't remember that being in the original movie, so I was very shocked to see that. Now, what I will say, I was kind of a little disappointed when it came to like the boat sequence when like Count Orlok travels by boat to Germany. We didn't really get a lot of that, and there wasn't a lot of like the plague. This movie heavily focuses on the love story, love story, I guess, between Count Orlok and Lily Rose Depp's character. I think that's her name. I'm so sorry. I'm terrible with names. The story between them, how she was kind of cursed by Count Orlok throughout her whole life, which we see in the trailer, and how he's basically just going to Germany to find her. And at the end of the day, that's really what this whole movie's about, and it's a great story. And man, there's some characters in here that I just feel bad for. Like, when like seeing the first movie, I kind of like was like, okay, there's nothing. Of course, it's so old that like you're just like, you can't really feel for the characters that much. This movie, it's a tragedy, man. Like, there's like some characters, like Aaron Taylor Johnson's character, Nicholas Holt's character, that I'm just like, I feel so bad for those characters. And then of course we got Willem Dafoe in here, just being Willem Dafoe. He's hilarious. I was laughing at him the whole time. He reminded me of himself in The Lighthouse. He was just like saying some random gibberish. I'm just like, that's very Willem Dafoe of you. Just basically going, burn him, and I'm just like, I'm dying laughing. I was cracking up in my seat. I mean, this whole movie was cool. My favorite parts of the movie were definitely the beginning scenes where like it's Nicholas Hoult into the whole castle of Count Orlok. I thought that was really cool. And then the final scene, which I'm going to talk about spoilers now. So if you don't want to be spoiled, fast forward to towards the ending. There'll be timestamps in the description. Getting into spoilers here. Alright, so talking right away just about the crazy scenes in this movie. When Count Orlok eats the kids, pretty much sucks their blood. Wow. Aaron Taylor Johnson's kids, the whole time they were like, there's a monster in my room, there's a monster in my room. Obviously that was foreshadowment. I knew that was foreshadowment. I was like, Count Orlok's definitely going to come after these kids. I was not prepared for Aaron Taylor Johnson to open that door and just see Count Orlok holding the daughters are screaming, holding the daughters up in the sky, just draining their blood. Very caught me off guard. I was like, wow, this is insane. I literally jumped out of my seat like, oh my god, that's crazy. I was very, very surprised to see that. Towards the ending, Lily Rose Depp, she was phenomenal. I think she can get an Oscar nomination for this. I'm sorry, I'm wiping off this baby powder off my shirt. It's everywhere. Lily Rose Depp, main actress, I think she can get an Oscar nomination for this. She was perfect. A few of her scenes were freaking me out when she was like having the seizures and everything. That was cool. Obviously it's not cool if that's to really happen, but like the way like she made me feel, like I was like, wow, she's a great actress. And the fact that Anna Taylor-Joy was supposed to play her, I think that would have been a mistake. I feel like I wouldn't have really liked Anna Taylor-Joy in this. I think she did great, especially towards that final act where she kind of sacrifices herself to kill Nosferatu or Count Orlok, and we just see him, and oh my gosh, was not prepared for, the scene where we see everything. I was just like, okay. Also, this man, especially towards the end, he has no butt. Where's his butt go? Like, that is gone. Like, it literally, I don't understand how this man can walk, because his legs are like twigs. I don't know if that's because of the sunlight, because obviously when he sees the sun, that was terrifying to see. His whole, he starts crying, blood, mouth blood, and then screaming. Very Robert Eggers way to do it. Very much reminded me of the ending to The Lighthouse, where we see Robert Pattinson kind of just scream at the lighthouse. That reminded me very similar to that. But those were just the crazy scenes to me. But now let's get into the finale, wrapping up my overall thoughts on the movie, where I rank it of the year. So for plot, I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. Visually, a 10 out of 10. And then acting, a 9 out of 10. Like I said, I think the plot is it's good. Nothing amazing, nothing perfect. I feel like there are some scenes that I felt were either too dragged on, too short. Especially the boat sequence. I would have liked to see more from that. But overall, it was a great plot, and I think the visuals in this movie were perfect. I think the cinematography was amazing. It really made me scared and sinisterly, like, it was very sinister, very dark, very gothic, and I really liked that for this movie. And the acting performances, there was such a powerhouse acting performance when it came to Bill Skarsgård, even though he was rarely in it. Nicholas Hoult, Lily Rose Depp, I think I'm sorry again if I'm saying the wrong name here. Aaron Taylor Johnson's character's wife, I don't know her name at all. The two kids were great in this movie. Of course, Willem Dafoe. And Bill Skarsgård's like henchman, Count Warlock's henchman. He was great. Don't know who he is, but he really made me just like kind of laugh and be like grossed out at the same time. He was really fun to watch. But yeah, the acting performances were very much a powerhouse in this film. Soundtrack and enjoyment. Soundtrack, I'm gonna have to give it a 6 out of 10, and enjoyment an 8 out of 10. Soundtrack is where this movie just kind of goes flat for me. There's really no overall score that makes me scared or sinister. Maybe towards the ending, like the final sequence, there's a score that I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool, and I can remember that score, but throughout the movie, I don't remember ever being like listening to like a score. It's mainly silence, and you know, this movie kind of like, I get it, like the original movie didn't really have a score either. Oh my gosh, guys, I apologize. I think my car just went off. Some guy just drove past with a loud exhaust. Oh, it wasn't my car. But some guy just drove past with a loud exhaust and just kind of took out like 3 cars with the beeping thing. My bad. Let's get back to it. I don't know, guys. This is very... No! No! I apologize about that, everyone. We got baby powder all over now. We're just gonna keep going. So anyways... yeah, I thought the soundtrack could have been better, the score, and if there was like a little bit more of like a musical score for this movie, I feel like this definitely would have gone up to like the top 5 of the year. But because of it, there's nothing really entertaining when it comes to like the soundtrack or the score behind the movie, what's actually happening. So for that, it's gonna be a 6. For enjoyment, an 8. Like I said, I enjoy this movie quite well. There were some scenes that got me like going onto my seat. I really like the gothic feel to this movie and the way it made me like eerie and suspenseful. But like I said, sometimes like with the plot, there was just scenes that were just too dragged on or in my case, too short, like the boat scene. The intro and for the ending. Intro, I'm giving an 8 out of 10, and that ending, I'm giving a 9 out of 10. Like I said in my spoilers, and before that, in my just regular non-spoiler review, the intro, I think, is okay. I think it's a little slow until we get to seeing Count Warlock in his actual castle. And then that ending's just beautiful. I think it's perfect. It could have been a little bit better with like a score. That's perfect in my opinion. But it could have been a lot more impactful if there was more of like a sinister score, I guess. And like I said, there was just some things in this movie that I didn't perfectly love as much as others did. My main thing that I loved about this movie was its visual effects and the cinematography when it comes to the visuals and when it comes to the acting performances. But besides that, I like the story of this movie, but it could have been a little bit better for me. But that's just my opinion. So overall, I'm giving this movie an 83 out of 100. That is a great score, and as of right now, it's the best movie of December for the Christmas season. I also got to see A Complete Unknown for the Bob Dylan movie, which I might do a review on that. I'm not quite sure. We'll see how that goes because I don't know if there's a lot of people that really like that movie, but or went to go see it. But I might do a review on that. But as of right now, that's the review for this week. Make sure you guys stay tuned to watch the yearly recap. I'm gonna do things a little differently this year with the yearly recap. But please like and subscribe if you really like this. If you like this video, make sure you like it. If you really like it, make sure you subscribe. Please look at how committed I am to trying to make this YouTube channel work. Please like the video. With all that being said, ring that bell for future videos like this and make sure you watch that yearly recap. All that being said, this is it out. Peace.